The podcast that I found was called Turn It Off, produced by Steve Blitzen, and Chris posted this. So first I drew a couch and a TV screen representing the beginning of the scene where he was watching a movie, and then he goes over to his fridge and then grabs some juice. But while he's there, he notices a dark figure in his backyard, and which turns out to be a umbrella stand that he never knew he had in his garden. After that, his parents are away, so he goes to his bed and opens up his laptop and starts chatting with a friend named Chris. And they plan to go camping. So I drew a tent in their backyard. And here is the dark figure that he apparently thought was the umbrella. But then he also thought it was a really large plant. That's why I drew this sort of Californian plant. But like the previous ones, the figure wasn't actually there, it disappeared. It was actually a figure though, he turns out. And then he calls Chris over to come to his house, and he gets a sleeping bag out so then Chris can sleep in his room. The next day they head to Chris's house and into his backyard to camp. And he sets in his backyard is a forest, which he says was relatively small, but it's a big forest in his backyard. And he said that the birds were singing, so I drew birds. They go really deep into the forest so then they can get a realistic feel. So then they also set up a swing on a branch, but then one of the ropes broke, so that's why I drew the string. They tell stories during the day about a cat woman, so I drew a cat humanoid figure. And then late at night when they were sleeping, they woke up and then they found their lantern, which was supposed to be inside their tent outside on the piece of rope from the swing, and it was 20 feet in the air. So, and then I drew their heart rate as 120, signifying that they were really scared and their heart rate was up. They run for a bit and then they go back to their tent to see if anything was missing, and they find their sleeping bags outside and a dark figure inside their tent, and it says, "Chris, turn it off," signifying the lantern. They run away, and then they assume that the dark figure inside the tent is following them, and what they hear they described as a claw scratching on the ground, so I drew a claw and a forward direction, signifying that that's going forward and making a sound. And then they run, and then they finally find road ahead. They find street lights with light, so then they keep on running that way and continue to run. And they said the street is empty. And they keep on running until Chris notices that they're near the narrator's house. So then they said to turn left and then go into the garden to go to the narrator's house. And then they stay in there for a while until it becomes daytime. And then it leaves off at a cliffhanger of the clicking and tapping sound from the claws that they heard before coming near the narrator's house, and that's where the story ends.